In my previous life, I was a green tea girl. By some twist of fate, I was reborn as the long-lost true daughter of the Ethan family. The day I returned to the Ethan the fake daughter jumped off the second-floor balcony. My brother looked at me with disgust. Why did you come back? If it weren't for you, Leela wouldn't have done something so foolish. The whole family hurried off to the hospital with her. I looked up at the still open window and said calmly to the anxious butler, "Uncle Butler, I'll take that room." The couple before me held my hands, tears streaming down their faces. "Soren, darling, we finally found you. Our poor child." I had truly been reborn into the body of the Ethan family's long-lost daughter. They told me there'd been a car accident on the way to bring me home. And they'd almost lost me again. As I gazed at the luxurious hospital room and the innocent young face reflected in the mirror, I couldn't help but let out a small laugh. In my last life, I'd endured endless hardship just to marry into a wealthy family. And now, after dying so miserably, I'd opened my eyes to find myself already part of one. Life does have a funny sense of balance. After my parents left, I did a little digging into the Ethan family. A top-tier conglomerate worth $8 billion. Reputable and harmonious. A loving couple. One son. One daughter. The daughter was kidnapped at the age of 3. Afterward, they adopted another girl. So this original body of mine was the real daughter, the true Soren. I sifted through her memories. Maybe because she was kidnapped so young. All she remembered was life in an orphanage, being bullied. Enduring. Poor girl. Finally reunited with her parents. Only to face a car accident right away. Her parents' hair had already turned gray from years of grief. I could see they truly missed their daughter. "Don't worry," I thought. "I'll take good care of them for you." Once my health stabilized, my parents brought me home. I was just about to step happily into the grand mansion when a piercing scream shattered the air, followed by a heavy thud. Someone bolted out from inside, sprinting toward the lawn. My parents, faces pale, rushed after them. Confused, I followed. In my brother Ethan's arms lay a girl in pajamas, Leela. The adopted daughter. Blood trickled from the corner of her lips. Her voice was weak. "She's your real daughter. There's no place for me anymore." Mother's voice trembled. "What nonsense are you saying? You'll always be our daughter." Ethan glared at me, his tone cold. "Why did you have to come back? If it weren't for you, Leela wouldn't have done this." Father scooped Leela into his arms. "We're going to the hospital." Through the gap between them, I caught the faint triumph in Leela's eyes. When everyone was gone, silence reclaimed the mansion. I looked up at the open window on the second floor and turned to the butler, who was still trembling. "Uncle Butler, I'll take that room." He froze. "But that's the young Mrs. room." I smiled sweetly. All innocence. "I know. But since the second young miss seems to have suicidal tendencies, that room's too dangerous for her. Better move her somewhere safer, one without windows." "Perhaps. Don't worry. I'll explain it to my parents." The butler hesitated, but finally bowed. "Yes, Miss Soren." Soon, let out a low sigh. Leela's room was cleared out. Lying on her pink, fairy tale princess bed, I let out a quiet, giddy laugh. "Leela. Oh Leela. You thought this would drive me away? I'm no fragile little daisy. I'm the wild grass that survives no matter how many times the wheels run me over. In my last life, I was a green tea girl. Actually, before I became one, I used to despise girls like that. But later I realized pretending to be one made it so much easier to marry rich. So I saved up for years for plastic surgery and breast implants. Then enrolled in an etiquette academy for socialites. Just when I was about to graduate, fate decided to mess with me again. I got into a car accident. Truly, heading so my session. No good deed goes unpunished. If I'd known, I'd have left that money for my younger siblings instead. Still, it wasn't a total waste. What I learned in that finishing school might come in handy here in the Ethan family. The next day, my parents came back and found me in Leela's room. Father's face darkened. "Leela has been our daughter for years. Even though you've returned, that doesn't mean you can replace her. How could you take her room?" Mother, however, was gentler. Athan, Athan. Don't say that. Last night was chaotic. We didn't have time to arrange things. Soren must not have known. Oh, I knew perfectly well. I pursed my lips. And tears welled up instantly. I'm sorry. Daddy. Mommy. It's all my fault. Yesterday, afterday. When my sister jumped. I was terrified. I knew you must have been even more worried. I just thought I couldn't let something like that happen again. So I stayed in the dangerous room. I didn't know you'd misunderstand. I'll move out right away. Mother quickly took my hand. Oh. Don't cry. Sweetheart. Soren meant well for Leela, it was just a misunderstanding. Father's tone softened. I see. I misjudged you. But you're right, Leela can't stay in that room anymore. I looked at him through tears. Daddy. Since my sister doesn't want this room. May I have it? For a moment. I caught a flicker of guilt in his eyes. He coughed lightly and said nothing. Mother hesitated. Then seemed to make up her mind. Soren. Leela's too fragile right now. Your father. Brother. And I all think it'd be better if you moved out for a while. Once she accepts everything. We'll bring you home again. Moved out? Soren's 15 already. If we don't rebuild the bond now. We'll soon be strangers. I bit my lip, lowering my head as tears fell. One by one. Being able to meet my real parents in this lifetime is already the greatest blessing. It's my fault for not being there to care for you all these years. Fortunately, hadn't fulfilled. You had my sister to fill that void. When I was in the orphanage, I once jumped from a building myself, because I couldn't take the bullying anymore. So I understand how desperate she must have felt. Then I looked at my tear-streaked face, gazing at my stunned parents. I really envy her. You've always loved and protected her. For her, despair always leads back to hope. But for me back then, there was none. Oh dear. I hastily wiped away my tears. I don't even know why I'm saying all this. If my sister doesn't want me here, I'll move out right away. With that, I turned to pack my things. But I didn't really have anything to pack. This was just a gesture. A way to let my parents see how considerate their biological daughter was. While the adopted one was forcing her own sister to leave. As expected, my mother burst into tears and pulled me into her arms. My poor Soren. When I think about it, we've been apart for over 10 years. How could I ever let you leave again? My father's face softened with guilt. We've been too focused on Leela. But Soren, you're our own flesh and blood. Stay here. All right? I'll explain things to Leela myself. I nodded obediently. And so, I officially moved into the large bedroom on the second floor. To prevent Leela from attempting anything foolish again, I suggested moving her to the small room on the first floor, the one with only a tiny ventilation window. Mother frowned. Would Leela agree to that? I gently massaged her shoulders and said, she's only a few months younger than me. I'm sure she'll understand your good intentions. And if she really can't, I'll switch with her. We wouldn't want others saying we mistreat our adopted daughter. Mother looked deeply moved and patted my hand. Soren, you're so thoughtful. I hugged her from behind with a sweet laugh. That's because I got it from you and Dad. Pleased by my answer, she kissed me on the cheek. I returned the gesture with a light peck of my own. That afternoon, Mother and I were as affectionate as any ordinary mother and daughter could be. For that, I truly had to thank Leela. She had given us the perfect chance to bond alone. By the time I glanced at the clock, Ethan should have been back soon. I'd spent 2 hours that morning perfecting a natural makeup look, soft and innocent. Then I slipped into a new dress. Soren had always been pretty, but with a little polish. She looked every bit the elegant young lady of a wealthy family. Just as I finished getting ready, the door burst open with a loud bang. Ethan stood there, face dark with anger. Who do you think you are? Daring to stay in Leela's room? I feigned fright, widening my doe-like eyes to look at him in panic. Brother. Please don't be angry. You're scaring me. Ethan's expression froze. Men are creatures ruled by their eyes. Before, with Leela around, Ethan never spared a second glance for a plain country girl like me. But what if his biological sister turned out to be just as radiant as Leela? Ethan stared at me in disbelief. Soren? I nodded timidly. Brother. Mom and Dad only let me stay here because they were afraid Leela might do something rash again. You came to get her things. Right? I packed them up for you already. I wasn't sure what she might need. I pushed a small suitcase toward him. Ethan scratched the back of his head and averted his gaze. Thanks. I'll just go change first. Watching him retreat in flustered haste, I smiled faintly, lifted the hem of my skirt, and went downstairs to turn on the TV. Ethan was about to leave with the suitcase when he noticed a soccer match on the screen. His eyes widened. You actually understand soccer? Men love women who share their interests. Even green tea has its variations, and this, too, let out a low sigh, was an art. I smiled brightly. I didn't watch the live match last night, so I wouldn't disturb Mom and Dad. So I'm catching the replay today. Brother, are you done packing? Go keep Leela company. But Ethan, drawn in by the game, dropped onto the sofa beside me. She's fine now. I'll head over after this match. The housekeeper, quick to read the room, poured him tea and brought me fruit. We chatted as we watched, brother and sister, until the final minutes of the game, when Ethan's phone rang. Hey, why aren't you here yet? I'm so bored. Leela's petulant voice carried through the speaker. Ethan's tone was distracted. Got held up for a bit. I'll be there soon. Just then, our team scored. I cheered. Brother, we scored. Ethan grinned and raised his hand in victory. Leela exploded on the other end. Finn, are you with that bitch right now? If you don't come here this instant, I'll kill myself. Ethan frowned. Okay. I'm coming right now. He hung up, reluctantly glancing back at the TV. I comforted him sweetly. Don't be mad at her. Brother. Most girls just don't get soccer. There's still half an hour left. You can finish watching it on your phone in the car. But watching on a phone could never compare to a big screen TV. Ethan sighed, nodded apologetically, and left with the suitcase. Moments later, the doorbell rang. Through the security camera, I saw a handsome young man standing outside. Judging by his outfit, he was clearly another rich heir. I quickly fixed my hair, opened the door, and smiled sweetly. Hi, who are you looking for? He replied coolly, though the tips of his ears turned faintly red. I'm looking for Ethan. I blinked innocently. My brother? He just went to the hospital. He studied me for a moment. So, you're Ethan's sister Soren? I nodded obediently. A faint smile touched his lips. Tell your brother Leo came by. I looked apologetic. I'm sorry. I don't have his number. Leo gave a soft sigh. That's fine. I'll reach out to him myself. Before leaving, he asked, do you go to Starlight High too? Starlight High, had heard of it. The best school in a city. Of course. That's where I needed to be. I will be soon, I said with a confident little smile. I did some digging later. And sure enough, my parents had already arranged my transfer. Starlight High School. Perfect. The day before the new term began, Leela was discharged from the hospital. It was around dinner time, and Ethan went to pick her up. The rest of us waited at the table. In the past few days, my relationship with Mom and Dad had warmed dramatically. At meals, I always sat beside Mother. But today, I deliberately left a seat between us. Mother frowned. Soren, why aren't you sitting next to me? I smiled gently. I'm saving that spot for my sister. Otherwise, she'll be upset again. Father scowled. Leela's spoiled by you. She's got such a bad temper for her age, no tolerance at all. Mother's expression hardened. What do you mean? Spoiled by me? Didn't you spoil her too? Soren, don't worry. Sit next to me. You're our daughter by blood, she can't deny that. Inside, I laughed quietly to myself. All that talk about the bond of blood was finally paying off. Still, I kept up my timid act. It's fine. I don't want to upset her. She's been the young miss for so many years. Mother's tone grew firm. If you don't sit here right now, I'll be angry. I jumped up and moved to her side, leaning against her shoulder with a playful pout. Mom, I'm sorry. Don't be mad at me. Just then, the door opened, and Leela walked in. She froze when she saw me clinging to our mother. Her eyes widening in disbelief. Mom. What are you doing? Why is she still here? You promised to kick her out. I flinched in feigned fear, instinctively about to stand up. But mother held me close and said firmly, Leela. Soren is your sister. Of course she'll stay here. You must learn to respect her. Leela's face flushed bright red. I told you if she stays, I leave. Are you trying to drive me to death? Slap. Father slammed the table in anger. Always talking about death. What have your mother and I taught you? You have no manners at all. Leela visibly flinched, biting down hard on her lower lip, her eyes shifting uneasily. At that moment, Ethan entered the room. I opened my eyes wide, staring innocently at him, looking pitiful. Ethan put his arm around Leela's shoulders. All right. All right. Stop getting upset. Soren's a good person. After spending some time with her, you'll come to like her. Seeing that my family had already accepted me, Leela shifted tactics. Her eyes suddenly reddened. Brother. Even you are on her side? Right. She's your blood. Your flesh. I'm just an outsider. So, she was playing the victim now. Mother's hearts softened immediately. And she stood up to take Leela's hand. Don't talk like that. You're our daughter. Just like Soren. Father's expressions often too. Soren is a sensible child. She'll be a good older sister. Now. Stop acting like a spoiled princess and let's eat. Ethan led Leela to the other side of the table. We were having Western food tonight. Leela skillfully picked up her knife and fork, raising an eyebrow at me. It was as if she was saying, can you even use these? Country bumpkin? Of course. I could. I was a pro, having mastered the art of etiquette at the Socialite Academy. But, I was a competent, green tea girl. I knew better than to show off. Everyone began eating. But I kept my hands clasped, silently lowering my head. Ethan, sitting across from me, noticed immediately. What's wrong? Can't use a knife and fork? I shyly glanced at him and nodded obediently. Ethan's gaze softened. Here. I've already cut this for you. Eat mine. My parents smiled in satisfaction. Leela, on the other hand, angrily hacked at her steak, making loud clinking noises. After the meal, Leela threw another tantrum over the room. Father simply returned to the company. Mother spoke patiently. Your sister's only thinking of you. Ethan also tried to console her for a while. In the end, Leela reluctantly moved into a small room on the first floor. Seeing her pitiful expression, I couldn't bring myself to feel sorry for her. She had already taken Soren's place as the cherished daughter. She had enjoyed years of love that belonged to Soren. Instead of compensating for the lost love, she had chosen to be bitter and vengeful. School bullying, though late, had arrived. Leela, along with a group of girls, pinned me down in the restroom. She slapped me hard. Don't think that just because you deceived mom and dad into thinking you're the real daughter, you're the true heir to the Ethan family. Our circle isn't some trashy place you can squeeze into. Beside her, a curly-haired girl poured a bucket of water. Oh. So you've even put on a scheming makeup. Let's see your true face. It was November now, and the cold had just started to settle in. As the cold water splashed over me, I couldn't help but shiver. In my previous life, I had no family, no support, and younger siblings to care for. When I was bullied at school, I had no choice but to endure. Even when, on the day of the college entrance exams, they tied me to a tree for an entire day and night, causing me to miss the exam. I chose to forgive them when the large compensation arrived. But now, things were different. I was no longer alone. I had a family. I lifted my head and looked at Leela, a cold smile playing on my lips. Don't you fear that I'll tell mom and dad? Leela crossed her arms, her face smug. Go ahead. You have no proof. What are you going to use to report me? At that moment, a curly-haired girl pulled my phone from my pocket. Oh, you're actually recording? Such a small trick. She unlocked my phone with my face and immediately deleted the recording. Leela kicked me in the stomach. I warned you. Leave this family now, or I'll make your life hell every time I see you. I gasped. but still managed to force a smile. Scanning the group of girls around me. The bunch of idiots. You actually think Leela will protect you? What did you say? You slut. You filthy bitch. How dare you insult us? I'll kick you to death. The girls swarmed, punching and kicking me. Leela took a step back, watching the scene with satisfaction. Be careful with your strength. Don't leave too many marks. I silently counted in my head. Before I came to the restroom, I had sent Ethan a text message. It should be about time for him to arrive. When I reached 30, Ethan's voice suddenly rang out. Soren. Where are you? The girls instantly stopped, whispering to each other. Leela. Why is Ethan here? You said your brother wouldn't accept this sister. Right? Ethan sounds really worried. Leela's face turned pale, and she looked anxiously toward the door. I spat out the blood in my mouth and shouted. Brother. I'm here. The girls quickly tried to cover my mouth. But it was too late. The footsteps were getting closer. Leela quickly ducked into one of the restroom stalls. Hiding. Soren. You. Ethan burst into the restroom, kicking the bullies one by one. The girls screamed and scattered. My body went limp, and I fell into a warm embrace. Leo. What are you? Leo furrowed his brows. Don't speak. I'm taking you to the hospital. As we left the restroom, I caught a glimpse out of the corner of my eye. Ethan paused by the stall where Leela had hidden. But in the end, he turned around and followed me. Having been beaten and drenched in cold water, I drifted in and out of consciousness for several days. In my dreams, I relived everything from my past life. When I woke up, Leo was sitting beside me. He was leaning back on the couch, eyes closed, his long legs stretched out under the coffee table. The sunlight filtered in, casting a glow on his handsome face. Just as I was lost in staring at him, he opened his eyes. You're awake. I quickly averted my gaze. Where's my brother? Leo handed me a glass of water. He went to the school to negotiate with the families of those bullies. I took a sip. Did they catch all of them? Leo chuckled softly. You're asking if Leela's involved, aren't you? I stared at the water in my cup, silent. Leo continued. Your brother didn't see Leela at the scene. But I've got a surveillance video here that proves she was involved. I furrowed my brow as Leo tossed a USB drive toward me. What's this for? For Ethan? For my parents? For the police? Maybe my expression was too odd. Leo grinned slightly. Whether or not you hand this video over is up to you. Decide? If I hand it over, that's essentially slapping Ethan's family in the face. But this had to be known by my family. Otherwise, the beating would have been for nothing. I wonder if Soren's awake. Why are you letting Leo stay here? It was my mother's voice. Her footsteps grew closer. I grabbed the USB drive and threw it toward the door of the hospital room. What evidence? My sister wasn't involved at all. The USB landed right at my parents' feet. I unfrowned and picked it up. What's this? I covered my face with both hands as tears flowed freely. I don't know. I don't know anything. Secretary Lee. My father called out. And the secretary brought over a laptop. Leela's voice suddenly rang out. That orphan girl. Still trying to act like the big miss of the Ethan family. What's this about being biological? Do you know what it means to be better off adopted? You all better give her a good beating. Let her know her place before she keeps acting up at home. Idiot. My father slammed the laptop shut with a snap. Mother, holding me tenderly, said. Such a malicious child. We need to teach her a good lesson this time. Ethan pinched the bridge of his nose, apologetically glancing at Leo. Leo shrugged. This is your family's business. I won't get involved. Nor will I tell anyone. Thanks. Man. As Leo left, he shot me a half smile that made me feel like he had seen through my act. I lowered my mask and shot him a glare in return. Back at school, I couldn't find any trace of the bullies. I heard they were all persuaded to leave by the school. Leela had been slapped by Dad at home. She cried and apologized to me, promising not to make the same mistake again. After all, she was the daughter they had raised for over a decade. Seeing Leela's sincere attitude, our family hoped for reconciliation. For the sake of the Ethan family's reputation, I had to keep her involvement in the bullying a secret. As the understanding older sister, of course I chose to forgive her. At school, Leela started walking around me. But she subtly encouraged her classmates to isolate me. Wherever I went, my classmates quickly stuttered. I didn't care much. After all, I was at school to study, not to make friends. However, Leo, Hevuusai, a senior in his final year, would occasionally come looking for me. Leo was a well-known heartthrob and academic genius at school. He was the prince charming in every girl's dreams. This only made the girls isolate me even more and even grow hostile toward me. After evening self-study, Leo was waiting by the classroom door for me. The girls in our class huddled together, whispering. I grabbed my bag and lowered my head, preparing to leave. Leo followed closely behind. Hey, are you still riding with me today? Our houses were pretty close to each other. I frowned. Where's my brother? Leo grinned. Your brother doesn't want you and Leela to clash again. So he asked me to give you a ride from now on. I shot him a look. I don't need a ride. I can take the bus myself. Since Leo had seen through my act last time, I couldn't pretend to be anything around him anymore. But he didn't seem to mind. He kept getting closer instead. Although he was from a wealthy family too, I always had a sense that it felt unreal, like he was living off the benefit of being a second-generation rich kid. I opened my phone and started looking for a ride-hailing app. Wow. This is expensive. It wasn't far, but the fare was 3 times what it would cost in the city. Leo, hands in his pockets, walked ahead. Our place is in a villa district. So of course, it's pricey. My car's free of charge. Are you coming or not? Fine. I lowered my head and followed. Actually, having fulfilled my ancestor, my parents weren't stingy with me financially. I just wanted to save up some money to help my younger siblings from my past life when winter break came. The car pulled up, and Ethan and Leela were just arriving at the gate. Watching Leo open the door for me and shield my head, Leela shot me a jealous glare. I smiled sweetly. Thank you, Leo. Leo grinned and ruffled my hair, but only stopped when I bared my teeth in mock frat. I walked over to Ethan, smiling innocently. Brother, I have a problem with a question. Can you help me? Ethan gently nodded. Leela ground her teeth together. Soren, wamedana aren't you tired of pretending all the time? I looked at her with innocent eyes. Ethan quickly took my bag. Let's go. Let's go. Time to do the problems. This time, I wasn't pretending. Though my grades were decent in my previous life, I had been away from school for 10 years when I died. Forget high school. I could barely remember middle school subjects. By the end of the night, Ethan quietly closed the book. Soren, I'm about to take the college entrance exam. You should get a tutor. I reluctantly nodded, secretly hoping it would be a male college student. The next day, Leo came to my house. From today on, I'm your tutor. I rubbed my temples, laughing bitterly. Aren't you taking the exam too? Leo proudly flicked the hair off his forehead. I've got a spot. No worries. An hour later, Leo picked up the phone. Leo, get me some junior high textbooks. After every night of studying, I questioned my life. Why couldn't I just be reborn as an adult? Studying was so painful. And now, I had to go through it twice. Fortunately, after all my hard work, I didn't end up at the bottom of the class during finals. My grades were average, which was good enough. Leela, on the other hand, was at the top of the class, gaining my parents' praise. Mom happily asked her what reward she wanted. She said she wanted to travel abroad. Mom smiled. Take Soren with you. You 2 sisters should go together. Leela frowned. I quickly waved my hands. No need. No need. I've never been abroad, and it would be a hassle for my sister. I'd rather visit the orphanage and see the director and everyone else. Leela raised an eyebrow. See? It's not that I don't want to take her. She just won't come with me. Mom sighed. Well, if you 2 can't go together, forget it. Adon's got an exam to take, so you can take the servants with you. No need. No need. I exchanged a quick glance with Leela before swiftly looking away. I was puzzled. I didn't bring any servants because I was planning to visit the orphanage. And I had also planned to see my younger siblings in another city. Yet here was Leela, the young lady, not bringing any servants either. That struck me as odd. But I didn't have time to dwell on it. After confirming my travel plans, I slung my bag over my shoulder and left. The original Soren had been sold to an ordinary family. After the couple had their own son, they discarded the adopted daughter. She was found and sent to an orphanage. That's why the original Soren had grown up with such deep feelings of inferiority, always trying to please others. At the orphanage, she became the target of bullying. Thankfully, the orphanage director had protected her and became the only light in her short life. I made a donation on her behalf, and I also gave the director a large red envelope as thanks for her care back then. The director was deeply moved and wanted me to stay a few more days. But I refused. My mother had insisted that we return before the new year. And I had another place to go. As soon as I stepped out of the orphanage, I saw Leo standing by the side of the road, grinning. "How come you're out so soon? Didn't you tell Ethan's mom you'd stay longer?" I averted my gaze. "I'm just going out for a bit. I'll be back soon." Leo squinted his eyes. "Soon? But I see you booked a flight to City C for tonight, and another to go abroad in 3 days." I stared at him, stunned. "You've been investigating me?" Leo's eyes were intense. "Soren, from the moment I met you, I felt there was something more beneath your innocent appearance. Seeing you deal with Leela at Ethan's family, using Ethan to handle the campus bullying group, and the way you seem to recall so many things from your studies, it doesn't add up. Your actions don't match the timid, inferior girl the orphanage described. What secret are you hiding?" His words struck close to the heart, and my heart raced uncontrollably. "What business is it of yours?" I clenched my bag tightly, lowered my head, and walked faster. But Leo kept up with me, following on the same flight. However, I wasn't as afraid anymore. No matter what, I was Soren now. And I had a feeling Leo wasn't malicious. He was just curious about the thoughts I was hiding. I did have a lot of scheming. If I didn't, I wouldn't have survived in my past life. When I was 10, my mother passed away. My father, desperate to find a stepmother, sold me to human traffickers. Since I was older, no one wanted to buy me. I watched a sister who began eyeing my body. That's when I became diligent. I not only worked hard but also learned to steal and beg for food, while helping take care of the other children who had been trafficked. Sister who was pleased with me and kept me around. It wasn't until the police raided the traffickers' den that I was rescued. Among the children who had been trafficked, those with parents went back home. In the end, only I, along with a younger brother and sister, remained. The sister had also been sold. And the brother had a rare disease and needed medicine daily. He was abandoned. The 3 of us were sent to the orphanage, where we received help from the state to go to school. After missing the college entrance exams, a director said they could no longer afford the medicine for my brother. I had to take my siblings out to survive. I did any kind of work. Even if it meant taking a beating, I would do it as long as I was paid. Later, I heard from some women at work that I could undergo plastic surgery, join a socialite class, and marry a rich man to solve all my problems in the next life. But my poor younger brother and sister never got to meet the rich man. Instead, they got back a broken body. I don't know if they removed the silicone when they cremated it. Finally, we met. I was surprised to see that my brother's legs could no longer support him. My sister looked 10 years older than her actual age. I wiped away my tears and sent over the 50,000 I had saved over the past 6 months. I told them it was a donation from an online friend. My sister, moved, hugged my brother and cried, "Now we can buy the medicine." I pretended to be on a live stream and stayed at their house for 2 days. When they started to suspect something, I hurriedly left. Leo gave me a strange look. "Are you really this frugal? Just for them?" I nodded. "They're people I met when I was trafficked. They treated me well back then." Leo's eyes flickered with a trace of pity. But he said nothing and just followed behind me. I secretly smiled to myself. Leo's abilities were probably far stronger than mine. Maybe he could even help my brother get better. I crouched behind a tree, observing from the shadows. Leo complained. Soren, don't tell me you went abroad just to follow Leela. I pulled my mask up slightly. Don't talk. Be careful not to expose us. If you're bored, go back to the hotel. Leo didn't move. Still fanning me. It's so hot here. We'd been following her for 3 days. And Leela just spent her days lounging on the beach. Swimming. There's nothing special about it. I muttered. No. Something's not right. From the moment I first saw Leela, I felt like I had met her before. There was a strange sense of recognition from deep within my soul. Now that we were abroad, she didn't bring any servants with her. She kept hovering around this area. It didn't look like a vacation. It seemed like she was waiting for someone. Just as I was thinking this, a woman wearing a bikini and big waves in her hair walked up to Leela. The two hugged each other intimately as soon as they met. The woman took off her sunglasses, revealing a very young face. When I saw her face clearly, it was like my brain had been struck. Memories rushed back like a tidal wave. And I froze in place. Leo also noticed something was off. That woman looked so much like Leela. Like their mother and daughter. I stared blankly. I've seen her before. To be more precise, both I and Soren had seen her. I remembered now. This woman once sold a little girl to Sister Who. The girl was only 3 years old. Burning with fever. Crying out for her mother. Sister Who found the girl annoying and tossed her to me. I took care of her day and night. Helping her bathe and feed her medicine. When she got better, she was sold. Now, when I think back, that little girl was Soren. My heart raced. We had met so much earlier than I realized. Back at the hotel, I grabbed Leo and asked, "Do you remember how the Ethan family found Leela?" Leo recalled. "I heard from Eve and that a few days after you disappeared, a girl about your size appeared at their doorstep. Your uncle and aunt felt it was fate and decided to adopt Leela." I stared at the ground. The woman I just met with Leela. She's the same human trafficker who took me away back then. Leo's eyes widened. You're sure about this? I looked up at Leo. Can you do me a favor? After returning from abroad, Leela's personality had changed completely. She no longer threw tantrums like a spoiled young lady. Instead, she became very well behaved. She even called me sister, sweetly when she saw me. My parents and Ethan were very pleased, praising her for being sensible. If I hadn't discovered her secret, I might have thought she had really changed too. After the spring festival, Leela suggested changing rooms. My parents agreed. I thought she'd want the princess room on the 2nd floor. But instead, she said, "I don't want to trouble you to move things around. I'll just take the empty room between brother and sister's rooms." Watching her sweetly beg Ethan to help her move her stuff, I immediately understood her intentions. She couldn't be a daughter, so she was aiming to be a daughter-in-law instead. I tried to warn Mom. "Mom, Leela's an adopted daughter. Isn't it a bit inappropriate for her to live next door to brother?" Mom dismissed my concern. "You're overthinking it. They grew up together. They're like siblings." After school started, Dad also arranged for Ethan to receive a special recommendation for university. With that, Ethan's academic pressure was significantly reduced. Leela began pestering Ethan for tutoring sessions. Watching her wear more and more revealing outfits, I hurriedly urged Leo to speed things up. Leo sent me a video call and scolded me without warning. I calmly comforted him and promised to repay him in the future. Finally, had in Xianxia. Leo lightened up. "Hang on for another 2 weeks." I gritted my teeth and pressed on. After school, Leela changed into a nightgown and entered Ethan's room again. As she closed the door, I squeezed in. "Brother. Leo's not around. Can you tutor me for a bit?" Leela's face darkened. "Sis, our study schedules are different. Just wait for Leo." I pouted, looking down and sobbing. "It's all my fault. I'm not as smart as my sister. It must be tiring for you to teach me." Ethan handed me a tissue. "What are you talking about? The material from these past few days isn't hard. You can follow along." Thanks. Brother. I quickly moved a chair and placed it between them. Leela scowled. How can I hear if you sit in the middle? I looked at her innocently. Sorry. Sister. You sit in the middle. Ethan sighed helplessly. You two sit across from each other. Got it. I hurriedly moved both of their chairs to the other side. Leela did understand the material better than me. Sometimes, when they discussed the problems, I felt lost. I often had to explain things several times. To avoid being ticked out, I had no choice but to stay up late for video calls with Leo. Getting extra tutoring. 2 weeks passed. And I was exhausted, with dark circles under my eyes. When I received a call from Leo, I still forced myself to cheer up. During National Day, our family gathered at a restaurant to eat dinner with Grandma. Grandma was old and usually stayed at the ancestral home to pray, rarely seeing visitors. She only came out for family gatherings during the holidays. Regarding my return, Grandma always believed it was a blessing from the Ethan family. So she doted on me a lot. At every meal, she would always ask me to sit beside her. While we were eating, the door to the private room was suddenly pushed open. Honey. I'm here. A middle-aged woman, exquisitely dressed, walked in. When she saw our family, she froze for a moment, embarrassed, and began to turn around to leave. But I shrank into Grandma's arms, wide-eyed and terrified. Grandma. This is the trafficker who took me all those years ago. Ethan was quick, shutting the door behind her. Grandma's cloudy eyes shot out to sharp beams of light. Was it you who took my grandson all those years ago? The woman tried to keep her composure. What nonsense are you talking about? If you don't let me leave, I'll call the police. Mom looked at me. Soren. Are you sure it's her? I nodded seriously. I'm sure. I'll never forget her face. I even remember there's a red mole on her wrist and a heart-shaped birthmark on her back. Ethan's sharp eyes caught it. She really does have a red mole on her wrist. Mom called out. Leela. Check if she has a birthmark on her back. Leela stood up, pale-faced, but couldn't move. Mom was frantic. Leela, what are you hesitating for? Let me check. The woman stepped back, panicked. Don't touch me. Don't listen to her nonsense. A 3-year-old child can't remember anything. Dad stood up in anger. We didn't say Soren was 3 when she was kidnapped. You really are a trafficker. Grandma was shaking with fury. Catch her. Don't let her escape. Mom grabbed the woman's arm tightly, calling for Leela to help hold her down. But Leela, in a panic, rushed toward Ethan. Afan was knocked aside, staring in disbelief at Leela. The woman seized the chance to charge out, but the housekeeper and security guards surrounded her. We've already called the police. Let's wait for them to arrive. The woman began to throw a tantrum, trying to escape, but when the onlookers heard she might be a trafficker, they made sure she couldn't get away. Grandma held me tight, and Mom secretly wiped her tears. Ethan looked at Leela with a skeptical expression. It seemed I didn't need to remind him after all. The day before school resumed, Ethan returned with a dark expression, holding a document in his hand. It was the parent-child DNA test report for Mara and Leela. Mom wiped away her tears. It must be Mara's doing. Leela was only 3 at the time. She didn't know anything. Dad took a deep breath. Leela, tell us the truth. Did you know anything about this? Leela shook her head frantically. I don't know. I don't know anything. Mom. Dad. I'm your daughter. Raised by you. Ethan gave a bitter smile. If you didn't know anything, then why did you push me away at the restaurant and help that woman escape? If you hadn't acted so suspiciously, would I have doubted you? Leela grabbed Ethan's arm. No, brother. I was trying to help you. I just accidentally made things worse. Ethan pulled his arm away. I can tell the difference between intentional and accidental. I muttered aloud. Leela travels to Country A every year, and it seems Mara has settled there as well. Dad shouted in anger. What else do you have to say? The Ethan family has been played by you and your mother. Our biological daughter has been left out to suffer, while we raised the daughter of our enemy. And she's an ungrateful wretch who can't even be tamed. Mom suddenly realized. You knew about this all along but didn't tell us. You let my daughter suffer. How could you betray us like this? Leela suddenly knelt down, crying. Mom. Dad. Brother. I was wrong. Please. After all the years we've been together. Forgive me. Dad sighed deeply. From today on, the only daughter of the Ethan family is Soren. With that, he staggered slightly. Mom quickly rushed to support him. Together, they returned to their room. After all, they had loved Leela for over 10 years. And the wound was deep. Ethan watched his parents' retreating figures with a look of pain. Then turned to Leela. Lead. Never show your face in the Ethan family again. Leela collapsed onto the floor, as if her soul had been drained. But I picked up the phone and said, Hello. 110? We have a fraudster in our family. Mara and Leela's deceptive actions had amounted to fraud. The Ethan family had spent a huge sum of money on Leela over the years. Leela was quickly taken away. She had just celebrated her 16th birthday a few days ago. And now she was old enough to be held criminally responsible. She would likely be sentenced to 5 or 6 years. From now on, there would be no connection between her and the Ethan family. Leo, who had been missing for a month, finally reappeared. Poor guy had sacrificed a lot of his charm to trick Mara into returning to the country. I cautiously asked him. You didn't sell yourself, did you? Leo rolled his eyes. If I had let her win, how could I have tricked her into coming back? I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. At least the favor I owed wasn't too big. Leo raised an eyebrow. Do you remember that you promised to do something for me? I replied seriously. Of course I remember. What is it? Leo smiled lightly. Then, what on a low sigh. Please. Soren. Study hard and go to college with me. I widened my eyes. Are you crazy? You're going to Peking University. How can I get in? Leo's smile disappeared. And he said firmly. You need to keep your word. I forced a smile. Okay. Got it. I struggled for 3 years. But in the end, I still didn't get into Peking University. On the day we checked the results, we were out camping. I looked at Leo with an apologetic expression. I'm sorry. I didn't keep my promise. Leo smiled gently. Then let's change it to something else. Be my girlfriend. Okay? Fine. Grinning teasingly. Added. If you're going to say that, you'll have to call me brother. Leo sneered. Let's keep things separate. Watching the two of them banter, I couldn't help but look up at the sky. Suddenly, I thought of that little girl with the runny nose. Soren. Thank you. You gave me a stolen happiness. End of story. My fiancé fell in love with a beautiful transfer student from a poor background. Things escalated to the point where both families had to get involved. He bowed his head and admitted fault. After our arranged marriage, he became the model husband in the upper class. But when I got pregnant, he took me on a trip only to push me into the open sea with his own hands. If you hadn't forced me to marry you, Celia wouldn't have dropped out. She wouldn't have married a thug and died from domestic violence. You owe her. You must repay it double. I never knew how much he loved Celia. Or how deeply he hated me. And I was reborn on the day Michael was about to break off our engagement. I don't want to study abroad with you anymore. Fine. Michael was stunned. He hadn't expected me to agree so easily. I mean, I want to call off our engagement. I agree. Realizing I truly wouldn't cling to him. He breathed a sigh of relief. Rena. You already have so much. Celia has nothing. She needs me more than you do. I nodded. Since he wanted to be with Celia so badly, I would grant his wish. So he wouldn't blame all his failures and misfortunes on me in the future. I have no objection. Just make it clear to your family. Michael frowned, hesitating. He seemed to remember that the engagement wasn't something we alone could decide. But soon he steeled himself for his so-called true love. Yes. I should explain Celia shouldn't keep suffering from all those rumors because of you. Then I wish you both happiness. I stood up and ran home as fast as I could. Michael and I were childhood sweethearts. Our families had arranged our engagement long ago. From the time I could remember, he took care of me. From kindergarten to high school, we were always in the same class, going to and from school together. If I got sick and took a day off, he would take one too. just to stay with me. I got unused to his care. And naturally included him in my future. But ever since that poor transfer student came, Michael started to change. I couldn't accept the change. Calvin believed that our years of relationship couldn't match up to a month he had known her. In my previous life, Michael wanted to cancel the engagement. But I refused. It escalated to our parents. His parents forced him to come apologize. Later, we studied abroad together and registered our marriage after graduation. Michael said he didn't want me to suffer and took over to companies. Aside from work, he spent all his time with me. He would inform me in advance if he had any social events. In our circle, he was known as the ultimate doting husband. My parents grew increasingly satisfied and eventually handed over the family business to him so they could retire. But once he took control of the company, he went looking for Celia, trying to make up for his regrets. He found out Celia had married a thug after dropping out of high school and had died from domestic abuse. Michael blamed everything on me, using the excuse of celebrating my pregnancy. He took me on a trip and pushed me into the open sea. Just before I died, I heard his hysterical scream. "If you hadn't forced me to marry you, I would have married her. She wouldn't have dropped out. She wouldn't have died. You owe her. You must repay it double." Turns out, neither I nor our child could match Celia's place in his heart. Now that I had a second chance, I wouldn't force him again. Without the engagement, he could be with Celia as he wished. I told my parents that Michael wanted to cancel the engagement. They wanted to go to the Michael's home and demand an explanation. The Michael's family business relied heavily on our connections and resources. If I showed even a hint of dissatisfaction, Michael would be forced by his parents to come beg for forgiveness. But this time, I stopped my angry parents. Michael's parents still came immediately. Michael's face was swollen. His mother had pushed him several times, and he remained silent. His mother, flustered, forced a smile at me. He must have been overwhelmed by the pressure of college entrance exams. She didn't mean what he said. What decent girl at school would waste time chasing after boys instead of studying? I'll talk to the school officials and get that shameless girl expelled. Michael suddenly stood up. If Celia drops out, I won't go to school either. His father slapped him again. His mother, heartbroken, shielded him. Michael turned and ran out. That night, I received a photo from Celia, Michael resting on her lap with his eyes closed. Then several messages followed. "We're together now. Even if you get his parents to hit him, it won't change anything. He loves me. You can't control feelings." I read her provocation calmly. "He's not going abroad to study with you either." I laughed at that part. All the better. In my past life, I had offers from several top international universities, including Ivy League schools. But I gave them all up just to go to the same school as Michael. "If you force him again with that engagement, you're beyond shameless." I didn't reply to Celia's delusional accusations. Michael was something I had already discarded. If she wanted to pick him up like some treasure, that was her problem. I had no interest in either of them. I deleted both their contacts. But since Michael and I had gone to school together for so long, we shared many mutual friends. News about the two of them still reached me constantly. Michael was rebelling against his family to be with Celia. Hunger strikes. Wrist cutting. He went all in. My friend Sophie was furious. Do those two think they're characters in a drama? Now it's some kind of tragic romance. Huh? Bat Celia, who only knows how to act pitiful, actually has him wrapped around her finger? Maybe Michael really liked that kind of thing. Celia transferred in under the title of exceptional poor student. Rumor had it her family was in dire straits. The school waived all her fees and even gave her monthly living stipends. She still had to do part-time jobs on the side. The first time I noticed Michael acting differently toward her was during PE class. After the warm-up, we could do whatever we wanted. Most boys chose basketball or soccer, while most girls picked badminton or tennis. The school provided badminton rackets, but tennis rackets had to be bought yourself. Celia chose tennis, but she didn't have a racket and had to borrow one. No one wanted to lend her theirs. She cried and said the girls in the class looked down on her and were ganging up to exclude her. Michael opened my locker and gave her my spare racket. "Didn't you say you didn't like the color? You weren't using it anyway. So why not help her out? Michael said casually. When I didn't respond, he smiled and tried to coax me. Are you mad? If you don't want to lend it, I'll buy you a new one. I didn't ask Michael to buy me a new racket, but I was definitely mad. Originally, hadn't fulfilled my obsession. Celia and I had nothing to do with each other, and I didn't plan on getting involved. But Michael put me in an awkward position, morally pressuring me. In the end, I was the one left without a racket, and Celia was infinitely grateful to Michael. That tennis racket started it all. Celia used every excuse at thanking him to stick around Michael. I had no idea she had so many little tricks up her sleeve. She offered to do classroom duties for Michael, but Michael was supposed to help me with them. She insisted on doing everything herself. I told her not to, but she acted like she didn't hear me. Girls don't have to make their hostility obvious. I called Michael away if she wanted to clean. Let her clean. The next day, having fulfilled my obsession, the homeroom teacher came to talk to me. Celia stayed behind to clean until very late yesterday. By the time she left, the buses had stopped running, and she didn't have money for a cab. She sat at the bus stop crying. I never asked her to clean. Celia cried in front of everyone. And the tears of a victim won sympathy. All my agitated explanations just made me look arrogant and domineering. Even Michael, who knew the full story, didn't take my side. It's really dangerous for a girl to be going home that late. Then don't let her butt into things. I was furious. I'd never met anyone so manipulative and had no idea how to counter it in time. I could only swallow my frustration. Michael said he would help me make it up to Celia. Sure. Celia no longer insisted on doing classroom duties, but she started fetching hot water for Michael and tried to do it for me too. But not just anyone is allowed to touch my mug. And not everyone's water I'd feel safe drinking. Once Celia touched it, I didn't want it anymore. She looked at me with teary eyes and said she could pay for it. Once she heard the price, she looked helplessly at Michael. Michael spoke up for her. Rena. Celia meant well. You're not short on mugs. Don't make it hard for her. I don't need her fake kindness. What hurt me even more was that Michael didn't realize that mug was from him, a limited edition brand collaboration. I treasured it. But he didn't even care. Why are you always defending her? I demanded. Celia flinched, hiding behind Michael, and timidly said, Sorry. I'll pay you back. Just give me some time. No need. Michael rejected for me. That was the first time Michael and I had a cold war. Sophie said someone like Celia wasn't worth it. I tried to make peace first, only to find out Celia's new part-time job was tutoring Michael. Celia needs to save up to buy a new mug. I'm just helping you fix your mistake, Michael explained blandly. I didn't think I had made a mistake. It was Celia's fault for touching my stuff without permission. But more than that, I didn't want Michael and Celia interacting. I said I didn't want her to pay me back. Celia insisted. She was obviously trying to provoke me. I made no effort to hide my dislike. Since I couldn't drive her away, I could only hope that Michael and I would leave the country soon, so I'd be rid of this nuisance. Celia always played the pitiful victim, and Michael's protective attitude grew more obvious. Celia's not like privileged girls like you. She's tough and independent and never relies on her family. You really have no right to look down on her. Celia's tricks weren't even clever, but they worked on Michael. He wanted to be a savior, and she wanted to be saved. They were a perfect match. They'll probably be happy together forever. I got my acceptance letter from a university abroad. The day I was preparing to leave school, Michael and Celia came back. Celia looked smug as she clung to Michael's arm. Michael raised their interlocked hands. Rena. Let it go already. Don't make me hate you even more. I didn't know what he was even on about. Let go of what? And I couldn't care less what he thought of me. So I don't like you. Is that why your parents pulled out their investment? If you go back home and convince your parents to reverse the decision, we can still be friends. I shook my head. I don't know anything about the family business. But nobody wants to do a losing deal. Our families used to be connected through marriage. Michael's family's losses could be shared. But now, there was no need for that. Michael angrily pointed at me. You're just taking personal revenge. So now I know why you agreed so easily. You were planning to use this to threaten me all along? If you think I'd sacrifice love for money, you've really underestimated me. I mentally applauded Michael. I hoped he could really stand firm under family pressure and hold out. Celia clung to Michael with teary eyes. No matter what happens, no one can tear us apart. I'll prove to your parents that your choice wasn't wrong. What are we doing still listening to this nonsense? Sophie carried my books. Let's go. You'd be better off packing for Stanford. Michael's expression changed dramatically, staring at me in disbelief. You're going to Stanford? Arena got rid of the dead weight, of course, she's going to the best school. Sophie rolled her eyes at Michael. Then she turned to me and said earnestly, once you're at one of the world's top schools, you can pick anyone. Even the worst of them will be better than the last guy. Michael's face flushed red. Who'd put up with her spoiled attitude? Picky, hadn't fulfilled my obsession. Sharp-tongued. Not even pretty. And flat-chested. Michael, you've got no class. And what? You think you're big down there? Show it to everyone if you dare. Sophie never minced her words. If you won't drop your pants, then you're just a Deminoki mushroom. You. Michael was furious. And Celia's sharp voice rang out. Sophie, are you Rena's lapdog? She hasn't said a word. And yet you're barking like crazy. What business is this of yours? I stepped forward and stopped Sophie, who wanted to speak up for me. Michael used to be the most eager lapdog for me. Now that I don't want him anymore, it's your turn to treat him like treasure. Good dogs don't block the way. I pulled Sophie along and walked past. Celia shouted resentfully from behind. Rena, stop pretending to be tough. What's so great about going to a college that just needs money to get in? You're just afraid to take the college entrance exam. Afraid you won't get into a local university. So you're fleeing abroad. I'll get into Tsinghua with Michael. We'll prove ourselves. And no matter how jealous you are, it won't change a thing. I smiled slightly. Such bold confidence. The international class students mainly rely on competitions for guaranteed admissions or go abroad for further study. The reason the school recruited someone like Celia with financial aid was merely to stimulate the class with the catfish effect. She's proud of getting a free ride at a private school, not realizing that what comes free often comes at the highest cost. Every gift has its hidden price tag. With Michael as her knight in shining armor this time, she wouldn't get expelled. I was eager to see how long she could keep it up. On the eve of the college entrance exam, Sophie asked me to meet up. There was only 1 month left. Sophie was an art student who had already received several conditional offers. As long as her test score met the threshold, she'd be in. She had strong academic performance but left painting, which led her down the art track. I remembered she got into her dream university. You'll be gone on the day I have class, so I won't be able to see you off. We won't see each other as often anymore, Sophie said, full of reluctance. Will you come back for Spring Festival? I laughed. I haven't even left yet. And you're already asking when I'll be back? All the good classmates have already left. Only the 2 super annoying ones are still around. After you left, Celia took your seat next to Michael, saying it was for study supervision. They're always hugging and showing off in class. Celia claims her foundation is solid and her grades won't be affected whether she studies or not. She even went to a net CAF overnight. Said she was tutoring Michael. Then someone saw them smoking in a parking garage. Celia said it was to relieve stress. Teachers stopped bothering after a while. One of my friends in athletics said he saw Celia working part-time at a pool hall, hanging out with shady guys. She's nothing like that sweet, helpless image she puts on at school. I just said oh. Not surprised. If Celia were truly that well-behaved, how could she get away with doing so many flashy things? Since she transferred in, she had one issue after another. Teachers might make excuses once or twice, but if it keeps happening, even a blind man can tell something's off. Before going abroad, I went shopping to buy Sophie a graduation gift only to run into Michael and Celia, who were supposed to be at school. Celia had changed a lot, curled hair, shiny jewelry on her ears and neck, wearing a tank top and tight skirt, trying on gold bracelets and clinging to Michael, begging him to buy her things. She saw me across the aisle, puffed her chest in a show-off stance, held Michael like a trophy, and even kissed him to provoke me. I averted my gaze, grabbed the item I had ordered, and left. When I got home, Michael's mom was there. She lunged at me as soon as she saw me, clutching my arm like a lifeline. My mom and aunt couldn't pull her off. "Rena, please talk to Michael for me," she begged. "That tramp is ruining him. His homeroom teacher's been on my back, says he's smoking, drinking, gaming, even fighting. His dad's ready to beat him half to death. You two were close. If you talk to him, he'll listen." Michael's mom was rambling, getting more agitated by the minute. I couldn't help her. Once we finally got her out, my mom sighed and said she was actually here to borrow money. His family's investments were way too risky, always trying to get rich overnight. But even if such a shortcut existed, they should have first figured out whether they're capable of taking it. I nodded and told my aunt, "Next time, don't let anyone from Michael's family in again." We were no longer connected to the Michael family in any way. I was busy abroad adjusting to the environment. The coursework was intense and packed, and every day I encountered cutting-edge scientific theories and innovations. Time flew by. Sophie sent me a video to share her excitement. She held up her admission letter. I got in. I really got in. I was genuinely happy for her. After the excitement wore off, Sophie leaned in and gossiped. "There's a wall of honor posted outside school listing over 200 students and their university placements. You're in the top 10. Your name is bolded and enlarged." But I didn't see Michael or Celia's names anywhere. Turns out Celia only scored in the 400s and can only attend a junior college. Michael did even worse, over 30 points below her. He didn't believe it and said the score was miscalculated. I was speechless. Looks like Michael's delusions had gotten worse. He actually questioned the national exam scoring system. They were so confident about getting into Xianxia. What were they thinking? I didn't understand it either. Where did that blind confidence come from? So Michael, who finally broke off our engagement, thought the exam scores were wrong. Celia, who didn't get expelled, worked hard and barely made it into a junior college. But it's fine. Their grades may be poor, but at least they still have their precious love. Life abroad got busier, and I didn't return home until the Christmas and New Year holidays overlapped. Sophie didn't have a break, so I went out to eat by myself to soothe my stomach after half a year of bland foreign food. I was eating happily when I heard a cold snort. Looking up, I saw Celia, now with heavy makeup and gray-blue dyed hair, fake eyelashes, and without asking, she sat down across from me. "You eat like a starving ghost. Can't afford food abroad or what? Rena, you look worse than ever. I almost didn't recognize you. Weren't you studying abroad? Why are you back now? Don't tell me you got expelled?" I gave a small smile. "I have limited ability. Isn't Xianxia University on break now?" Celia glared at me furiously, clearly unwilling to lose face in front of me. She quickly forced a smile, trying to act casual. "I didn't like Beijing. It's too cold there," she said. "And Michael is an only child. His parents are getting older. He's filial. So of course I chose to stay here with him. Unlike you, I'm not selfish." Her words didn't faze me. I kept my head down, eating. Celia raised her voice. "Michael and I are doing better than ever. His family has accepted me too." She held out her wrist. "They even gave me an expensive gift." I glanced at the jade bracelet on her wrist. I wasn't an expert, but if it was real, I knew it would be worth a lot in today's market. Celia noticed my gaze and thought she'd won something. "Do you know how much this bracelet costs?" I nodded. 7 to 8 figures. Maybe? We're getting married after graduation. His parents said they'd buy us a villa. Celia suddenly stopped mid-sentence and stared wide-eyed at her bracelet. How much did you say?" "If it's real," I added. "Stop trying to stir up trouble. Just looking at your sorry face, I can tell you're still a single loser." Celia stood up in a huff, throwing out one last line before leaving. "I know you're just jealous of me." I thought to myself, she really is getting older without getting any smarter. So Fate came back home for New Year's. She loved a crowd and was well liked. She organized a gathering with other classmates who were home for the holidays. We arrived early and each held a hot cup of milk tea as we waited for the others. This time it's not just our class, some people from other classes too. One of them goes to your university. Do you know who? I shook my head in surprise. Who? The class president from class for Ethan. Do you remember him? I tried to recall. Tall. Thin, having felt wide sigh. Like a bamboo stick? Sophie clicked her tongue. That's what we call youthful charm. He's quiet. Too. I only found out he was back from his reach post at the airport. Invited him on a whim, didn't think he'd actually show up. He probably wants to meet you. So don't be a mute gourd. Okay? Give your girl some face. Okay. Satisfied. Sophie nodded and started gossiping again. Back then, the only guy who could be compared to Ethan was Michael. They were the two campus heartthrobs. Look at them now. She clicked her tongue in pity. Oh, and did you hear? Michael and Celia are going to a local vocational college, a privately run one. Michael's family business hit a cash crunch. No one's willing to throw money into that black hole anymore. It won't be long before they go bankrupt. Now I can't even tell which one of them is dragging the other down. Sophie had booked a tatami room. Our classmates started arriving. Suddenly, a shadow fell over me. And someone sat down beside me. Hi, a newcomer greeted. I turned to see a fair, shyly smiling face. Ah? Hi. Are you Ethan? His eyes were bright. I know you too. You're Rena. We got to the same university. Can I get your contact info? Just as we were exchanging contacts, the door was suddenly yanked open. Sophie's annoyed voice rang out. Michael, what are you doing here? I didn't invite you. We're still classmates. Sophie, don't be so snobbish. I looked up and could tell Michael was here to make trouble, and exactly for who. I was about to stand up when Ethan held me back and spoke. Since he's here, let him sit. Michael sat across from me, giving Ethan a look before flashing me a fake smile. What's this about? Just got back and already poking into Celia's business. I know you haven't gotten over me. But you're wasting your time. I'm planning to get engaged to Celia. I looked at Michael, speechless. Who knows what Celia told him after failing to show off in front of me the other day? Even if you paid your way into studying abroad, I don't see any improvement. Celia was right. Grades mean nothing in the real world. Out here, it's all about connections. My family has me to rely on. Rena, what about yours? Michael's tone turned mocking. You think you can find someone better than me, someone who knows you inside out? Everyone in the room looked shocked. Sophie opened her mouth, probably looking for the nastiest insult she could throw. You went after Celia as soon as you got back. Regretting things now? Michael got bolder. I'm willing to patch things up with you. But you'll have to convince your parents to reinvest in my family's company. For old time's sake, I'll even help manage your family's business in return. When someone pushes you to the edge, sometimes all you can do is laugh. Michael slammed the table. What are you laughing at? If it makes you happy, I said. I really had nothing else to say. Michael looked around. I know you don't want to lose face in front of everyone. Come outside with me. He reached out and grabbed my arm. Let go of me. Let go of her. Two voices spoke at once. Ethan raised his hand and gripped Michael's wrist. At the same time, I raised mine and slapped Michael hard across the face. During the past 6 months abroad, I got up at 6 a.m. every day. After brushing my teeth, the first thing I did was hit the gym to wake myself up. This time, I didn't hold back. Every slap landed with the anger of my past life and the frustration of this one. I hadn't even taken revenge on him yet. And he had the nerve to show up and speak so shamelessly in front of me. The sound of consecutive, resounding slaps echoed through the private room. Sophie reacted quickly and called the staff, who threw out the raging Michael, who had been shouting that he'd kill me. In this life, I'll shoulder my responsibilities myself. I don't need to rely on anyone else. Balancing heavy academics and a busy internship, I rarely returned to the country. In my 3rd year, I began to familiarize myself with my family's business and tried to expand it overseas. Sophie also began taking on freelance work using the skills she'd learned. Most of our classmates were on a similar trajectory. Then someone posted a screenshot in the group chat. It was Michael and Celia's wedding invitation. They must really love each other. Getting married so early. Someone commented. Another person clarified. I heard it's a shotgun wedding. It's common back in their hometown. At that private college. There are cases every year, babies born in dorms. In bathrooms. In classrooms. Even on the playground. That's way too casual. Sure. Giving birth is easy, but how do you raise the kid? You can't just throw them away, right? The chat went silent. These things weren't unheard of. So Faye messaged me privately. Celia got expelled. She racked up gambling debts playing cards outside of school and started stealing from her roommates. One of them installed a hidden camera. And the school wanted to avoid a scandal. So they let them settle it privately. Celia told Michael she was pregnant and demanded a bride price from his family. She threatened to accuse him of coercion, otherwise said the baby was proof. Michael's family had already mortgaged their house. No one knows how they scraped together the money. But Celia and Michael are sending invites in all our group chats and even deeming people for wedding gifts. I stared at the screen blankly. By now, nothing those two did could surprise me. I applied to another top university for grad school. That year was as hectic as ever, juggling studies and company projects. I helped take our family business global. And my parents grew increasingly confident in me. After graduation, I returned home to fully take over the family business. My dad retired early, planning to travel with my mom to all the places they never had time to visit. While saying she was too old to walk far, my mom enthusiastically shopped for new clothes. And I taught her how to use a selfie stick. You look beautiful. My daughter is so impressive. I laughed and downloaded a beauty app for her. Suddenly, she lowered her voice and asked, "Has Michael tried to contact you again?" I blocked and deleted him ages ago. What happened back then was known by our relatives, friends, hadn't so filled my say, and classmates. With the gap between us now, no one would risk offending me just to help Michael. My mom sighed. That's good. Thank God we cut him off. After Michael's family went bankrupt, they even came to your dad's company to beg for money. Michael knelt and kowtowed to your dad, saying if he couldn't be his son-in-law, he'd settle for being his godson. No pride or shame at all. Your dad came home both furious and scared. We almost let you marry a guy like that. I patted my mom, comforting her. It's all in the past. Our family will be just fine. She nodded. Poor Michael's mom. Her son turned out awful. And the wife he brought home is even worse, shameless. Dirty hands. And after giving birth, she just abandoned the kid. She's never home. Always hanging around sketchy men. Michael and Celia had long become a cautionary tale among our old classmates. That once passionate love story had become a pitiful mess in just a few short years. After sending my parents off on their trip, I returned to work. Overseas orders were booming. And we were expanding production. I needed to personally scout locations for a new factory. After extensive consideration, we finalized a site. Many people came to congratulate us on groundbreaking day. Then Michael suddenly rushed out. Ethan immediately stepped in front of me. A few security guards quickly restrained Michael. Let me go. Do you know who I am? I'm your boss's fiend. Michael struggled wildly, shouting at me. Rena. It's me. I'm your Michael. Don't you remember how good I was to you? Don't you remember our engagement? I'll love only you for the rest of my life. Let's get married and have kids. Let's live happily together forever. Ethan's face turned cold. Take him away. Michael went berserk, eyes bloodshot and locked on me. Rena. Why did you agree to cancel our engagement? You should have stopped me. You should have taken me abroad with you. Your family's business should have been mine. At that moment, I realized Michael had been reborn too. But it was pointless now. In this life, I had fulfilled his obsession. He shouldn't have had any regrets. This isn't real. I must be dreaming. This is a nightmare. This isn't my life. I'm supposed to be the president of the Rena Group. Michael grew more and more deranged. In a sudden burst of strength, he broke free from the guards and lunged at me. We can start over this time. We'll start over together. The flash of cold steel, the glint of a watermelon knife as Michael swung it at me. Ethan took the blow for me. The police car roared in, taking the still screaming Michael away. I accompanied Ethan to the hospital to treat his injuries. Are you okay? Were you scared? Ethan asked while getting his wound stitched up. I frowned and glared at him. Who's the one that got hurt here? Michael's yelling couldn't scare me. But you really did. What if something serious had happened to you? Ethan smiled, still looking as shy as he did when we first met in the private room. Well, then I'd have a legitimate excuse to blackmail you. I sighed. What do you want to blackmail me for? Just say it. Ethan replied. Then he shook his head. But a line like that deserves a more romantic setting. Fine. I'll wait. I said, unable to hide my concern. But are you even capable of being romantic? The doctor finished the stitches and looked at Ethan. This place may not be romantic, but choosing this moment to confess? That's something she'll never forget in her life. Ethan's face turned bright red, and it didn't fade even when the police came over to take statements. What Michael did was beyond unacceptable. He injured Deeth and I wanted him to pay a heavy price. I was determined not to let him fake insanity and escape justice. But then the police revealed something even more shocking. Michael was actually involved in a murder case more than one victim. The news broke online with a video, clearly filmed in an old, run-down neighborhood. The voices in the background shouted in horror. This is evil. How could someone lay hands on their own father, wife, and son? The wife was cheating with some gangsters from a pool hall completely shameless. Didn't someone say she was sleeping with her father-in-law and got caught by the mother-in-law? It was the mother-in-law who drugged them then. The poor kid didn't even belong to him. And he went mad. That night, a lot of people heard him yelling that he was a CEO, a rich man, and could never live in the slums. Then he ran out, but somehow came back and did that. Due to the severity of the case, the video was quickly taken down from the internet. But some classmates in our group chat managed to get more details. They say a neighbor living downstairs first noticed a strange smell and followed it upstairs. The door to Michael's apartment was slightly open, and no one responded when they called out. The first neighbor who saw the scene is still getting psychological counseling. Besides Michael, who was arrested, his missing mother was found at a nearby landfill. She admitted to drugging the victims. When Michael struck, both his father and wife were still conscious. The crime scene was unbelievably bloody. So twisted. Who could have imagined he'd become like this? The messages kept coming in fast. I closed my phone and looked up to see Ethan's worried gaze. Thinking back, I did feel a lingering fear. Michael had really been ready to die and take me with him. Are you okay? Don't keep everything to yourself. You can talk to me, Ethan said gently. I didn't feel much. I had already died once. And I knew long ago just how cold and cruel Michael could be. But the people around me were all visibly shaken. My parents are worried that they're cutting their trip short to come home early. I told them I'd go see them. I smiled and looked at Ethan. I also said I'd introduce someone to them. Do you want to come with me? Ethan realized what I meant and nodded quickly, instantly shifting his focus to what gifts he should prepare. He packed so many things that we filled 3 huge suitcases. Ethan even asked if it still wasn't enough. I teased him. You're not ugly. You don't have to be scared of meeting the future in-laws. The weather was beautiful when we set out. Right before boarding, I got a message from Sophie. Michael's sentence came through death penalty.